Karakeep is an amazing bookmark manager that can auto-tag and summarize everything you find online. But in the last video, I showed how to make it even better with custom workflows in N8N. Now, I'll show you how you can make those workflows faster and better with a custom node that I made. If you don't have N8N or Karakeep installed, you can be up and running in minutes, and getting this node installed will just take seconds, so let's get started. First, if you don't have N8N installed, I have a whole bunch of videos that show you how to do it on a VPS, or you could just install it locally with Docker or NPM by following the instructions right here. You should be ready within 4, maybe 5 minutes. Then, if you don't have Karakeep installed, then check out this video to get started with that. That will also show you the benefits of using Karakeep and why I dig it so much. Now we can move on to getting this node installed and running. Head to your N8N instance and navigate to Settings, then Community Nodes, click Install, and type in the package name, which is N8N-nodes-Karakeep. N8N will pull it down and install it automatically. You'll see it appear in your node palette once the installation completes. Now for credentials. We're going to need to create 2 sets of credentials. One's for Karakeep to access N8N, and the other is for N8N to access Karakeep. Let's start with the one for N8N to access Karakeep. Instead of manually configuring HTTP headers and authentication, you just need to set your Karakeep API key and instance URL in N8N. So we need that Karakeep key. You can create a new key by going into User Settings in Karakeep and clicking on API Keys. Then click the button to add a new API key. Give it a new name and click Create. Copy the key and click Close. Now go back to N8N. Create a new credential, search for Karakeep, and click Continue. Enter in the URL for your Karakeep instance and then paste in the API key. Click Save and you are set. The node handles all the authentication complexity behind the scenes. Let's do a quick test to make sure everything's connected properly. Drop a Karakeep node onto your canvas and connect it to a manual trigger. Set the operation to get bookmarks and execute the workflow. If you see your bookmark list come back, then we've verified that N8N has access to your Karakeep instance. Here's the main difference this makes. With the old HTTP method, you'd need to remember that bookmarks live at the API/v1/bookmarks endpoint, structure your headers with the API key, and parse the response manually. With the custom node, you just select Get Bookmarks from a dropdown. That's it. Now let's start to build something useful with this node. I'm going to recreate some of the workflow from my previous video, but this time using the custom node instead of fumbling with HTTP requests. The difference in complexity is night and day. The first step is getting Karakeep to trigger the webhook in N8N. You don't have to set any credential here, but you really should so that others can't trigger the workflow. So let's start by creating a new credential in N8N. Search for header auth and click Continue. It's quite likely that over time you'll have a lot of header auth credentials, so let's give this one a name at the top, perhaps Karakeep to N8N auth header. For name, enter authorization. This is the name used in the header. The value is going to be bearer and then some string. It could be random text or a GUID or whatever you want. But if you just enter it here, you won't be able to copy it to a new location. So I would suggest opening another editor and typing the string that you want to use. Copy that, and then in the value in the N8N credential, type bearer and paste in the string. Click Save, and we have the first part done. Now go back to that workflow we used and delete everything on there. Add a new webhook node, change the HTTP method from GET to POST. You can change the path if you want, but you don't have to. And then for authentication, choose header auth. Choose the Karakeep to N8N auth header credential that you just created. Copy the webhook URL, and now switch over to Karakeep and under User Settings, go to Webhooks and create a new webhook. Paste in the webhook URL into the URL text box, and then copy the text after bearer that we used before and paste that into auth token. don't include bearer here. Karakeep will automatically preface the token with the word bearer. If you include it, then bearer will be there twice and it won't work. Then, under Events, choose crawled. This will trigger the webhook anytime you create a new bookmark and it gets crawled. This is a bit different from the previous video where I used created and then made a loop waiting for the crawl to complete. I'll talk about this difference in a little while. Now, click the Back to App link at the top. Now we should be all set to try out the connection. Back in the N8N workflow, click on Listen for Test Event, and in Karakeep, add a new bookmark. Back in N8N, you should see that the testing UI is closed, and we have a new webhook arrived on the right side. If you do, then go ahead and pin that output so that we can use it for the rest of the development of this workflow. If, however, it didn't work, then there's probably a disconnect between the random text that you put in Karakeep and what you have in N8N. You need to make sure that whatever you entered for the Karakeep auth token is also added to the N8N credential, but prefaced with the word bearer. Now we know the webhook is working, so add the Karakeep node after your webhook trigger and set the operation to get bookmark by ID. This retrieves the full bookmark details using the ID from the webhook data. So drag and drop bookmark ID from the webhook input to the bookmark ID text box and click Execute Step. The node automatically presents you with the fields needed to fetch the specific bookmark. No more guessing at JSON structure or looking up API docs. You can map the webhook bookmark ID directly to this field using N8N's expression editor. Now add an AI agent node so we can generate a summary of the bookmark. Set the source for the prompt to be defined below and set the prompt to summarize the following HTML, and then drag and drop the HTML content field from the input to the end of the prompt. At the bottom, add a chat model. You can use anything you have access to. I assume if you're watching me, you probably are going to choose Ollama like I do. I already have a credential set up to use Ollama Cloud, and I'll set the model to be Kimi K2. Go back to the AI agent node and try clicking Execute Step. Within a few seconds, you should see a summary show up in the output. Now, let's add a new Karakeep node after the AI agent and set it to Update a Bookmark. Change the input to show our webhook and drag bookmark ID onto bookmark ID. Then change input back to AI agent and set summary to output. Click Execute Step and you should see your generated summary added to the bookmark. Depending on how you installed Karakeep, you may also see AI tags created by Karakeep. I'd like to make sure my workflow generates my summaries and tags, so I'll SSH into my server and delete the relevant configuration options and then restart my Karakeep server. Now I can add another bookmark, and within a few seconds, I should see a new summary. In the description, you can find the link to the previous workflow updated to use this new node. In there, you can see how I split out tags and the summary. Earlier, I told you to use the crawled event in the webhook in Karakeep. And in the previous video, I used created. So created is fired as soon as the bookmark is added. Then Karakeep tried to get the content of the page. Depending on the source, it can take 10, 30, even 60 seconds to do this. If you look at the Karakeep node, you'll see that it's pretty comprehensive. Pretty much everything supported, though at the time of this recording, I think the asset management endpoint isn't working right. Some of you might be wondering how exactly I made this. Once you see how I did it, you may be able to create your own custom integrations when you need them. For this project, I chose Kiro, Amazon's AI IDE. Before this, I always used Windsurf because it was the best of the AI IDEs. For some reason, Cursor gets most of the love here, even though it's constantly in catch-up mode since Windsurf first showed up. What I love about Cairo, is the fact that it builds out the PRD and task list it follows for building out whatever you're building. I've always done this manually or with another AI outside of the IDE, but Amazon just made it part of the standard process. It's a pretty amazing process once you get into it. Of course, I built this in Cairo, and then found out that planning mode has been in Windsurf for 4 months. And as per usual, Cursor called up and added that in the last few weeks. Now, if you aren't already a software developer, then I feel I have to disappoint you here. None of these tools are going to be a good fit for you. Cursor, Windsurf, Hero, Lovable, Bolt, all of them suck if you aren't already comfortable being a developer. Sure, you can come up with a good first draft without knowing anything, but you'll hit a wall until you spend at least a few weeks learning the basics of how to do this stuff by hand. And ideally, you should know how to do this stuff without the AI and just use it to speed up the boring parts of development. My source code for the plugin is public on GitHub, so you can see exactly what I did. So that's the power of custom nodes. They eliminate integration friction completely and let you focus on building workflows instead of wrestling with the APIs. The difference between HTTP requests and a purpose-built node is like the difference between writing assembly code and using a high-level programming language. Now, if you just need to build one workflow and integrate with a REST API, I wouldn't suggest building a custom node, but if this is something you are going to do often, or you want others to build with it, then taking this route can be pretty powerful. Download the Karakeep node from the Community Nodes directory and try it out with your own workflows. You'll immediately feel the difference in how smooth the integration becomes. And if you're dealing with other services that don't have good N8N integrations, consider building your own node using this approach that I showed you today. Hit subscribe for more N8N automation tutorials and workflow optimization tips. And if you want to learn more about N8N, check out this video. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.